The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon. This is Amber Lewis at the Iowa Finance Authority, and it looks like we have just a few more people coming into the webinar, so we'll hold for just a moment. If somebody's on and you can hear my voice and see our screen, if you would just send us a quick note in the questions or the chat box at the right, that would be very helpful. Okay, fantastic. It looks like so far technology is cooperating, and a few of you are have joined so far, so thank you so much. This is the Iowa Statewide Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG, calendar year 2014 competition application reviewer orientation. That's a bit of a mouthful, but that's what we're here for today, so thanks so much for taking the time. And I think we will go ahead and begin. And let's see, if you are not real familiar with the webinar format, if you want to submit a question anytime, you can type something into the box on the right-hand bar. You can also send something by chat. I think it just seems like typically webinars work best when everybody's on mute, unfortunately, so it doesn't allow for a lot of verbal interaction, but we'll try to kind of keep an eye on the questions log and keep in touch with everybody that way. Okay, so just getting right into it. The webinar, we will record today's webinar, and if technology cooperates, so far we're doing well. Slides of the webinar and a recording will be available to reviewers afterward, and we'll send that out in some way. Hopefully the file size won't be too large. Somehow we'll try to make the recording available. So if this isn't a convenient time today, or if you have to drop off a little early, you should be able to just pick it up later on whenever it's convenient for you. Iowa Finance Authority staff for our homeless programs department, myself, Amber Lewis, also Josh McRoberts and Judy Hartman, and they may be joining in for the webinar today and presenting some material as well. Okay, so we do have kind of a range of reviewers this time around. We've expanded our ESG competition review program, so we have some new people into the process. We have a larger review team than we've had before. We're going to have kind of a more in-depth reviewer wrap-up and funding recommendations meeting at the very end. So just kind of trying to step it up a little bit this year and just do a little more with it. So with that, we do have a couple application reviewers that probably are not too familiar with the ESG program overall. So we thought we'd start with just some kind of broad overview of the ESG program. Then we'll go into what is this particular ESG competition for. We'll look at who applied and for how much. The application period just ended Friday, so we just have some initial stats on who submitted an application. And we'll look at how does the application system work and how does the review process work. And then we'll close with a review of the actual application system. Okay, so beginning what is ESG, and Josh McRoberts here is going to take us on a little tour of ESG here to start off.
Okay, so what is ESG? The purpose of the ESG program is to assist people to quickly regain stability in permanent housing after experiencing a housing crisis and or homelessness.
We do have a link here. Oh, there we go. HUD keeps changing their website for information, so I think this is still current as of today. If you're curious ever to learn more about the program, you can do so through this link. Again, these slides will be available. So, and then it's just onecpd.info up here if you wanted to access it that way. But this will tell you a little bit about, or a lot more about the program. Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, so basic facts of ESG. It is a federal program of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. There are formula grants to states and some metropolitan cities. The authorization comes from the McKinney-Vento Act and was reauthorized under the 2009 Homeless Emergency Assistance and Rapid Transition to Housing, or HARTH Act. The HARTH Act required HUD to develop new regulations for ESG. It became effective on January 4, 2012, and reduced the emphasis on emergency shelter and increased emphasis on quickly helping people regain permanent housing. Types of assistance under ESG include street outreach, shelter, homelessness prevention, and rapid rehousing. For ESG in Iowa, there are 3 total federal grants made each year, 1 to the state, 1 to Des Moines, and 1 to Sioux City. The Iowa Finance Authority is the agency responsible for Iowa's state allocation of funds. As the grantee, IFA is responsible for distributing and monitoring the use of the funds.
Okay. Oh,
Go ahead.
Oh, no, just moving to the next section, and Josh will continue this one. What is this competition for?
Calendar year 2014 competition. There was stakeholder collaboration. There was a 2-week public comment period. The application period closed on Friday, July 12th. The eligible applicants were units of general purpose local government, not to include public housing agencies and private nonprofit agencies. The application process was very competitive. Only 1 application per agency was allowed. A nonprofit agency, it must be recognized independently by the Iowa Secretary of State's office. Projects must serve clients that qualify as homeless under HUD's definition. I don't know if that's the one. Nope. Or at risk of homelessness. For the grant awards and amounts, the source is the federal fiscal year 2013 allocation. The award period is January 1 through December 31st, 2014. There's approximately $2 million available for this. We anticipate approximately 20 to 30 awards, which will average between $50,000 and $100,000. Street outreach is essential services for unsheltered homeless persons, connecting persons with emergency shelter, housing, or critical services, providing urgent, non-facility-based care to unsheltered homeless persons who are unwilling or unable to access emergency shelter, housing, or an appropriate health facility. Meets Category 1 of HUD's definition of homelessness. Includes engagement, case management, emergency health services, emergency mental health services, and transportation. Shelter includes essential services for clients, which includes case management, child care, education services, employment assistance and job training, outpatient health services, legal services, life skills training, mental health services, substance abuse treatment, transportation, and services for special populations. Operations for emergency shelters includes maintenance, rent, security, fuel, equipment, insurance, utilities, food, furnishings, and supplies, and can also include hotel or motel vouchers if no emergency shelter is available. And under shelter, they serve categories 1, 2, 3, or 4 of HUD's definition of homelessness. For transitional housing, shelter, the interim regulations define emergency shelter to include a hold harmless provision for transitional shelter or housing projects if they were funded with federal FY 2010 ESG funds. For the Iowa statewide ESG program, federal FY 2010 ESG funds were allocated for the period from July 1st through December 31st, 2010. Essentially, such projects are grandfathered in for eligibility as emergency shelters. If they meet all other qualifications, such projects may apply in the shelter category. Homelessness prevention and/or rapid rehousing is for categories 2, 3, or 4 of HUD's definition of homelessness. That's for homelessness prevention. And we have a couple links here if you want. Do you want to go to those?
I think we'll probably hold off on the links now, but just to know that these are available later. Again, if you want more information or find in your scoring that you need just a little more background and context there.
And then down below, rapid rehousing is category 1 of the definition of homelessness, and just reference that first link above. Homelessness prevention and/or rapid rehousing can include rental assistance, housing relocation and stabilization services, financial assistance costs, including short, medium-term rental arrears, rental application fees, security deposits, last month's rent, utility deposits, utility payments, and moving costs. Also serving costs, which are housing search and placement, housing stability case management, mediation, legal services, and credit repair. So the ESG and Shelter Assistance Fund. The State Shelter Assistance Fund is another source of funding for similar activities. It's also managed by the Iowa Finance Authority. Federal ESG rules are more restrictive and the program requirements are stricter. There's more documentation required and more limitations on who can be served. IFA will likely hold a SAF competition later in the year, which will likely be in September. Only agencies that do not receive an ESG award may apply for SAF. Some agencies may choose to wait and only apply for SAF. With the costlier compliance requirements of ESG, some agencies may find that SAF would be a better fit for their programs.
Okay, so that was kind of a quick overview there. It was probably lots of information if the ESG program is new to you. So that's okay if you didn't catch all of that, but just to know that this information is here and available in one place for you to reference at any point in the scoring. And next we'll move into who applied for this particular competition and for how much. Okay, so for this year, again, just closed on Friday, we had 35 agencies that submitted applications from across Iowa, and the total amount of funds that was requested through these applications was a little over $2.7 million. So the average with 35 applications, that puts the average at just under $80,000 per application, again, just requested. And then we also broke it down by which category funds were requested in, and we just had a little bit requested in the street outreach category. Again, this is kind of providing essential services to unsheltered individuals and families, and then had the largest amount requested under shelter, which could be, again, for operations or essential services. We had a little over $1 million requested for shelter. We had almost $800,000 requested for homelessness prevention. That's, again, someone who's at risk of losing their current housing situation. And then we had a little over $800,000 requested for rapid rehousing, and again, that's for someone who's currently homeless, helping them to get back into stable permanent housing. Okay, and then who applied from across the state? We had, I think there are 18 counties listed here. These are the counties where we received requests, and note that these are just kind of the home office locations. So most, or maybe not most, but many programs offer services beyond just where their physical office location is located. So pretty good representation of the state here, I think. And how does this compare to last year? Last year's competition supported the current 2013 calendar year. And last year we made 26 awards total across 16 Iowa counties. And I think, I actually didn't double check this before, but I'm thinking there were just almost exactly 35 applications last year as well, maybe 38, but really similar to this year. We also had about $2 million to award during that last competition, again for this current year. The range of awards that was made went from a high of $250,000, so very high there, to a low of $10,000. So agencies are kind of all across the board of the kinds of things that they're wanting to do and submitting applications for. So the average award last year was $77,000 or approximately. And I'm just going to take a brief momentary break here. I just want to make sure that nobody submitted questions. Okay, perfect. It looks like no questions yet. Okay, and how does the application system work? A little bit about this. It is an entirely online system. The applicant submitted everything online. The reviews will be done entirely online. So as far as the application sections, they are listed here: applicant name and location, but for threshold items, just to help determine eligibility. We have competition priorities. That was something new this year. We have project design, and that star designates that it's will be scored by our external reviewers. Also had a section for experience and capacity, another section for community partnerships, another one for performance outcome measurement, sections for budget and match. The program does require a one-to-one match, which is kind of other funds that the agency uses to support the ESG program. And then the final section is exhibits, where agencies could upload additional documentation relating to their application. And just for a brief description of these scored sections, all total, the application is worth 100 regular points, and then there's an additional 20 bonus points that are available even beyond that 100. So starting off with project design, these four main sections up top are each worth 24 points. And then we have a budget section worth just 4 points. So project design, basically what that's about is looking at how is the project designed, who does it serve, and how does it offer services. The experience and capacity section looks at the agency offering the services, and that includes fundraising, staffing, training, grants management, financial management, board oversight. And the next section is community partnerships, and that is looking at how is the agency or project, or what is the agency or project, oh, sorry, I think I got ahead of myself. Okay, back to community partnerships. How is the agency participating in community planning regarding homeless assistance services? And then the final main section, performance outcome measurement. What is the agency or project's record of performance outcomes, and what evidence is there that the project or approach will be effective? And then again, just that final section with budget for just 4 points. And looking at, is the budget reasonable and sufficient to describe how the funds will be utilized. The bonus points for the competition priorities, we were looking at how does the project meet certain defined competition priorities, including services for families, veterans, and chronically homeless, as well as the demonstrated capacity and utilization of past grant funds. Oh, I should have mentioned there, this one, for some reason, I apologize for this, I always forget the rural priority points, but also some priority points for services to a rural area. And let's see, next, just a brief overview of the HAP system. The HAP system is what we call our online application system that stands for Homelessness Assistance Programs. We use this system for both the ESG and that Shelter Assistance Fund that Josh mentioned. So that is the system that the Iowa Finance Authority uses for applicants and reviews. And it is the same system that we used for the past 2 years for ESG and SAS. And applications are not accepted in any other format. So the way it works for applicants is applicants enter their information at any time and can save it and come back to it later. When they're done, they hit submit and they receive a confirmation page and an email. And at that point, they can no longer make changes, but they can still go in and view their submitted application. Okay, so moving into how does it work for reviewers for all of you. And so to access the HAP system, we've got a link here, and actually we'll come back to this because we'll spend a little bit of time on reviewing the system itself. But for now, you can also find that link from the Iowa Finance Authority homepage. If you go to that homepage, there's a drop-down list. Actually, there's several drop-down lists at the top, and you can click on any one of them that relate to homelessness. And there'll be a link on the left for the Emergency Solutions Grant. And if you click Forms and Resources, a little chevron link at the right, and then go to the 2014 program, there is a link to the online application, which is the same for both applicants and reviewers. Okay, so the first thing you need to do to actually get into the system is set up a personal HAP system account. So if you've been a reviewer before, you probably already have one. May not remember the password and all of that, so it should prompt you to send you an email to remind you of that. But if you haven't been a reviewer before, you probably just need to set up a new account. And there's a link on our webpage with instructions to do this. And once you have your account, you need to send an email or give Josh or I a call to let us know that you've got your account set up, and then we will then go into the system and assign you special reviewer status, and that's what will enable you to see all the applications. So hopefully this link here works, and we'll check out how do you create an account. Okay, and it's not wanting to work, so sorry about that. Oh no! I'm going back to the beginning. Okay, well, back to where we were. Okay. External reviewer team, we're still on how to do review process work. This is our list of reviewers, so a big thank you to everyone that volunteered to contribute to this process. It's a huge benefit, it's a huge thing for our program, so really appreciate it. Really a great range of reviewers. Alex Dean is from the Iowa Council on Homelessness. He's the chair of that statewide body. Dave Disher is the director of the Iowa Institute for Community Alliances. And the Iowa Institute manages the data collection system for the state of Iowa for homelessness programs. Jane Erickson is from the Department of Aging and is also the agency liaison for the Iowa Council on Homelessness. Barb Michaels is the director at the Fort Dodge Housing Agency. Donna Phillips is from the Office of the Attorney General, Crime Victim Assistance Division, and also is the agency liaison for the Iowa Council on Homelessness. And Ruth Randleman is the mayor of the city of Carlisle and also an Iowa Finance Authority board member. And Doug Romig is from the city of Des Moines, working in their housing department. Bruce Teague is with the organization Caring Hands and More from Iowa City. So hopefully I got all those right. So we have eight reviewers. So just a few that have done it before and lots of new members. Okay, and so each regular application section, except for that budget section, just the four main sections that are each worth 24 points, all of those will be scored by 2 external reviewers. And this is kind of how I have broken it down. Hopefully this will make sense, and hopefully these will be good assignments. If anybody looks at if any of the reviewers look at their assigned section and they say, oh no, I absolutely can't do this section, I want to do a different one, let me know and we'll see what we can arrange. But this is what seemed to make sense to us. So in project design, Alak Siemens Romig. In experience and capacity, Barb Michaels and Bruce Teague. Community partnerships, Donna Phillips and Ruth Randleman. And performance outcome measurement, Dave Disher and Jane Erickson. Okay, a bit about conflict of interest. Kind of a large citation here, but this is kind of from the contract and the rule for ESG. Conflict prohibited, nope, and I'll read it, and I apologize, it is kind of long and wordy, but no person who exercises or has exercised any functions or responsibilities with respect to activities assisted under the ESG program or who is in a position to participate in a decision-making process or gain inside information with regard to activities assisted under the program may obtain a financial interest or benefit from an assisted activity, have a financial interest in any contract, subcontract, or agreement with respect to an assisted activity, or have a financial interest in the proceeds derived from an assisted activity, either for him or herself or for those with whom he or she has family or business ties during his or her tenure or during the one-year period following his or her tenure. So, kind of a mouthful. Essentially, if you think you might have a conflict with an agency and you're not sure, please let us know and we will make arrangements for alternate scoring of that application. And actually what we'll ask is for every reviewer to submit a conflict of interest declaration. That'll just be a quick one-page form that you can review and sign, and I will follow up by email to share that declaration with all the reviewers. And we'll ask that you sign it and either scan it and send it back to us by email, or you can drop it in the mail or at least bring it to that last reviewer in-person final wrap-up meeting on August 14th. Okay, and scoring applications, a bit about how to do that. The applicant name and location section contains a brief overview of the project, and again, we'll go into the system and we'll check that out in a moment here. But that can be helpful just to provide kind of a general context of the agency and the project for which they're requesting funds. And you want to note for each section how many points is each question worth, because they are all different. And so if you're assigning a score of 3, well, that's very different depending on whether the question is only worth 3 points or 10 points or whatever it is there. And you can find out how much the question is worth by checking the parentheses after each question. And so you want to consider, is the answer complete? Is it clear, specific? Does it cite evidence where applicable? Is it a compelling answer? Does it seem like it'll work? If you're scoring less than the total points, enter comments at the bottom of the scoring page. Applicants often ask us to see their comments and their scores, and they want more information. They want to know how they can improve. They want to know why they received the score that they did, in particular if they don't receive funding. And so that's extremely helpful, those comments. I can't stress that enough. If you would please enter comments. They can be brief. We don't need, flowery long sentences, but just some brief comments about if you don't provide full points for a question or a section. Just some comments there on the bottom of the scoring page, right in the system. And it may be helpful to read through a few answers briefly before you get started scoring, just to get a sense of how the different applications compare. The scores and comments will be public records available to applicants, so just keep that in mind with your comments. And the team will discuss the scores and comments for each application individually at the final reviewer meeting. So if you've been part of this process before, it'll be a little more in-depth, a little more intense meeting at the end where we'll actually talk about each application individually. In the past, it's been more kind of about the numbers and just kind of putting together the numbers of each score together and seeing how things come down with just the numbers. But this time, we just want to have a little bit more of a conversation and consider each application individually. So it will take a little bit more time, but I think it'll be really good feedback and just really good for the process for us to learn more. Okay, and navigating the system for scoring. So the steps here, you're going to log into the HAP system. All the applications are going to be listed on the main page. There are going to be drop-down boxes to filter the applications, and you want to select the review status. When you get to this point, and you'll see all the applications listed there, you'll see a little box where it says Edit on the right-hand side, and this is how you open an application. You can't just left click. You can't just click as you normally would on this link here, but it can be helpful to right-click and open a new tab. This means that when you're done reviewing that application, you just close out the tab and you're right back to where you were. But either way will work. Just click and open on that application and select your section from the list to the left. So if you've been assigned, say, project design, that's going to be the main section that you're clicking in and viewing and scoring. And you want to make sure the system saves your scores. And each reviewer should have special review status, which will enable scoring but not changing the application answers. So don't need to worry about that. If for some reason it looks like you're able to get into a section where maybe it's not meant to be and you're able to change something, do let us know, because that's not the intent. We don't want to risk losing something that the applicant submitted. Okay, and as for the schedules, today is kind of the opening of the review process with this webinar. You can review at any time that's convenient for you up until August 13th, and then the following day on August 14th, we'll have that in-person meeting here at the Iowa Finance Authority. We'll start at 10. We kind of scheduled it till 3. Perhaps we'll end earlier than that, but just want to make sure we have enough time. We will provide lunch, and mileage costs will be reimbursed. So for anybody traveling into town, try to provide some assistance there. And the location right at the Iowa Finance Authority at 2015 Grand Avenue in Des Moines, and it's pretty convenient and accessible, close to downtown, just I guess west of downtown, across from Central Campus High School. And the way that will work from that reviewer meeting, as part of that meeting, as part of reviewing each application individually, we'll come up with, or the review team will come up with some funding recommendations. And then these then go to the Iowa Finance Authority Board of Directors. And the IFA board will consider those recommendations at their September meeting, and the IFA board is responsible for making final funding awards. In our experience, mostly it's just been based on what the reviewers have recommended. So a lot of weight is given to what the reviewers determine is appropriate. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and review that application. We had a link here on 28. Okay. Okay, so when you want to go in and actually check out the application, this is what it will look like for you. And let's see here. Hopefully it'll let me in. It's just a little bit different from our end as it is from our external reviewers, so hopefully this will be right. Okay, it's not letting me in from here. So hold with me one moment. I'm going to try this a little bit different way here. And it should work for all of you, but it's just a little different way for us to access it. So bear with me. Okay, so this is what it should look like when you go in, and I'm not positive if all of these different competitions will show up for every reviewer. It's possible if you've reviewed before, maybe more of them will show up, but in any case, the application that we're concerned with right now is the Iowa Statewide ESG for calendar year 2014. And on my screen, it's the very bottom one here. So you can filter for that. And then the status that you want over here is review. Okay, and then you click search, and this is what we have with 35 applications on 2 pages. You can click here at the top to organize them in any way that you'd like. Sometimes it can be helpful to organize by provider organization. And actually this unsubmit button, that's probably going to go away as of today. That's at some point we'll probably do a deficiency review period and have applicants submit an additional something just in case they've missed an exhibit or if there's something more that we need. But that's something that Iowa Finance Authority is doing on our end, so this probably won't be there very shortly. But you'll go into that edit link that we mentioned, and if you right-click this, you can open in a new tab. Got so many tabs open now. Oh, this was from earlier. There's our instructions to create an account we were looking for earlier. I'm going to close out some of my tabs so I don't confuse myself too much. Okay, so when you get through, this is what the application looks like. And so at the top here on the left, you have application summary. This isn't anything that the applicants see, but this is something for us to keep track of scoring. And so once we have the scores in here, it'll show the total scores in each section. And you don't need to worry about that screen too much. That's just for our kind of record keeping. The applicant name and location is what I mentioned can be helpful to go into and review. Just for some broad general overview of the project. And so, for example, for access, just a quick paragraph here about what access is. And then you go into your section. So if you're project design, click there on the left. And you have a number of questions here. If you see a star after a question, that means that it was required and an applicant could not submit the application without answering it, and most of them are required. And here's where you can see how many points a question is worth. This is 2 points for this is 1B. So 1A isn't worth any points on its own, but 1B is worth 2 points. And so then you'd enter your score right here for the score 1 for this question. If you want to give full points, you'd enter a 2 here. And moving on, next question is worth 2 points. Enter your score here, and so forth. A lot of material there. One's worth a little more, 6 points. Okay, and then all the way at the bottom, if you want to make comments, this is where you would write your comments for any of the above questions. And so you might just, if you want to make multiple comments on different questions, you might just do a quick key, say question 1, and then make your comments, write question 2, and make your comments, and so forth. We just didn't want comment boxes after every question. We thought that just might get a little unwieldy. Okay, and when you're done, I think you want to press save here, and then you can close it out. And then since we opened it in a new tab, we're still right back to where we are. If you sort it in a certain way, it's still sorted that way. And you can go on to the next one and right-click again, click on the edit. We'll open up in a new tab, and you can continue to score. So here's another one. Experience and capacity is another scored section. Okay, and then community partnerships, another scored section by our external reviewers, and then the final one, performance outcome measurements. Okay, so that in a nutshell is the system. See if I can go back to my webinar here. Which one is better? There we go. That one got us back to where we were. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and take a break here. We're just about done with our official presentation, but I want to check and see if any reviewers have questions at this point. Okay, and we do have a few. Take a look here. And the question was, if we have an account from a previously submitted grant, can we use that account? And yes, I believe so. And this is just a situation of one or maybe two reviewers. So we'll take an individual look there. But thanks for the question. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. And yes, I think that will work. Okay, a question, let's see, has it been emphasized to applicants that they should repeat information if necessary for each category? As a previous outside reviewer, I don't necessarily review the entire application for my specific information. And that's a good question. We certainly have communicated to applicants that I believe we have communicated to applicants that the way the scoring system works is that each reviewer scores just one section of the entire pool. So I think so, but I guess that'll probably just depend somewhat on the application. And yes, you shouldn't have to review you shouldn't have to read the entire application to review your particular section. Hopefully it'll be clear enough just from reading your section how to score it. And then another question, if we want to, can we print this out to review as long as we enter our scores and comments in the online application? And yes, that should work. There's a little print icon. Certainly applicants can do that, and I think it's open for reviewers as well. It's just a little icon that hides kind of at the top left of the application screen. And sure, you could print out the whole thing. I don't think it'll just let you print out a section. I think if you go to print, it'll have you print out the entire application. So makes it maybe a little unwieldy then if it's a long application. But certainly if you prefer to do it that way, that can work. And then a question, do we score only the assigned section, or do we also do the general sections such as the budget and appendices, et cetera? And the answer is just the assigned section. So actually the way the budget section will work is the Iowa Finance Authority staff will actually review that section because we really want to make sure that applicants are only asking for eligible items. And so that'll be kind of our focus there. And then the application priorities, those are priorities set by IFA staff, and about half of them have to do with kind of previous grants management of our particular program. So we'll be reviewing our records for that section. So just the assigned section for each reviewer. You're certainly free to look at the other sections if you think that's going to help you provide some perspective, if you think you need additional information for any application. But really it's just that one section. Okay. Thanks, Donna, for that comment. Any other questions? I think we've reached kind of the end of our official presentation here. If you have questions at all during the application period, please feel free to contact me by email or phone, or Josh McRoberts by email or phone. Judy Hartman, our colleague here, is also available for questions, although she's a little bit less involved with the kind of application and review period of this. But we're really happy to take any questions, so please don't hesitate. We really appreciate the time that this takes. This is a big thing to review 35 applications, so really appreciate it. And a question, can we get the PowerPoint emailed to us? It is not out there quite yet, but I will follow up and get that out to everybody today. So that should be available immediately to review. And then again, hopefully our recording works today and we can make that actual recording of the webinar available also. But yes, and we'll also be following up with a conflict of interest declaration. And we want to make sure, first of all, that everybody can access the account. So that's probably the first thing you want to do is try to get your account set up. If you had an account before, try to log in and make sure that you still know your information. let us know if you're having trouble logging in, and then we can at least just make sure you have access so that we don't get, a few weeks down the road and then there's a crunch time at the end where, you have trouble actually getting into the system right when you're ready to, actually get started. So if you'll take 5 minutes, everyone will take 5 minutes just to at least make sure they have access, that would be a great start to do as early on as possible. Okay, and I don't think we have any more questions, so just really want to say thank you again, and just let us know how things go, and please stay in touch, and really hoping everybody can make it for that August 14th meeting. Please also let us know if something comes up there, if there's a conflict, but otherwise we'll really look forward to seeing everybody on the 14th. So thank you all, and good luck.